You need to order that light.
All right, it being 8:07, call this November 14th, 2024 meeting of the Municipal Building Committee to order. First thing is public forum. Is there nobody? Okay, review of the past minutes. We have minutes from October 17th, 2024. Does anyone want to make a motion to accept?
Minutes.
Peter? And
Second.
do we have any comments or corrections?
No, second.
Seeing none? Okay. All those in favor? Unanimous? Okay, next, we have the golf club building, the update. Do you want to address anything, Ian, or do you want to use?
No, I think.
Okay.
Good.
I think we saw, the feelings of the town with their vote at the town meeting. My opinion, this is only my opinion right now, is we probably should refer this back to the select board for them to give us direction or decide which way they want to go. Christie, you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that makes sense, because the select board sort of handed the project to this committee, which we looked at through the feasibility study and found that sort of the initial proposal for the building isn't feasible, doing it with the funding that the select board has discussed. So I think it should go back and the board should review it. There is still $32,000 from the original appropriation for feasibility. So depending on what the board says, there potentially could be some further feasibility done. But I think that's a decision that the select board needs to make, given, I don't want to take this all away from you, but given the town meeting vote, but also on Tuesday night, and we can talk about this more, one of our select board members asked that the community center be discussed at the next select board meeting in terms of timeline. And so the reason I'm bringing that up related to the golf building is that if the select board is making a decision to delay the community center, there could be further discussion about whether or not they are wanting to space out all of these projects, and all of them being the library as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's the right thing to put it back and let us make a decision, and not, even though we have that money, I don't think the town spoke pretty clearly. I don't think we should pursue it.
The money's in there, and the money will stay there. I mean, it's not going to disappear. So, if at some point we do need to do a further feasibility study as far as the pro shops involved, we do have something to go forward. So,
yeah, and I think at this point in time, as we know, the pro shop is fine. It's functional. It runs. Looking at Jen, I think Matt's fine with running it. We've got, and Jim, as you said, we've got the building. In essence, I'll call it mothball, but we're heating it, we're cooling it, not at level, but we're kind of maintaining it as is. So it's not improving, but we're trying to keep it from deteriorating more. So I think at this point, putting it back to the select board and having us have a discussion of next steps is the right place. I don't think there's much for us to do here as a committee.
all right, do we have a motion then to
Can I
refer?
just comment first?
Right. Yes. Sorry.
So I certainly understand what everybody's saying, and the one thing I would say is, I think we got some good information out of the feasibility study, but in some ways we really didn't complete. We completed the task, which was to see if we could make the program that was recommended to go forward with the function area and that sort of thing. Could that work? And I think we figured out that it doesn't. I think there's still an opportunity to try to figure out what could work, and I would recommend to the select board that we use the money that's left to get the kitchen consultant or restaurant consultant involved, and do some preliminary sketches of what a snack bar, pub type could support. It's almost like the first level of the two-story building that we looked at before. And, I would think with the money that's left, that could still be accomplished. It could be accomplished with BFE and their restaurant consultant. I just hate to lose the momentum of what we have right now. And, we've been talking about this for a long time already. And, I'd hate to see it take step backward and not have some momentum to go for it.
Obviously,
I could definitely bring that back to the select board, and I think from my side, we had a different, what I heard loud and clear at town meeting was that many in town did not think the town should be in the restaurant business. Now that was different than what we got out of the kind of the reuse committee that we had put in the surveys they had received. So we had many more people that completed the survey than voted at town meeting, although they're still, I mean, that's the way it works. So I think I can definitely take that back to the select board. I do think it makes sense for us to, figure out next steps. But I think it's in the hands of the select board to decide where that goes versus us spending the money right now.
I think I personally like, definitely have an open house so people can see what's up there at some point. The building it's in tough shape, as Jim can allude to. I mean, he's in charge of the facility there as far as buttoning it up and everything. But I think in the position we're in right now, it's safe. It's not going to impact the country club itself, but we definitely, something in the near future has to happen to the building.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see it sit this way, say, for another 3 or 5 years. I mean, if that's the case, I think the selectmen should also think about it. If that's the way it's going to be, what do we do with the front half of that house? Because it will eventually deteriorate further without having occupied space like that. I know there's some rot in the building and things to that nature that could, get worse over time. So I just want to, if it's going to be that long, I think that we just need to discuss at least whether we tear it off and keep the pro shop there and just do a remodel just on that area. This is down the road. This isn't anything I'm thinking now, but if it goes that long, that might be what we're looking at.
I think sending it back to the select board doesn't mean it's going to linger for a long time. I think we just need to sort of, rethink about it and sort of reset on what the next step is. And I think, some of what Rod's talking about, if we can use available funds and we can get a better understanding of how we might move forward when we're ready to, I would expect the board to be supportive of that. We just have to figure that out.
Right. And I would hope the select board would see that there are funds in there, so that'll give them an opportunity if they want to go forward with either way. There's money available so that we can get professionals in that can lead us in the right direction.
Yeah, I think just to be clear too, what we heard at town meeting was there was definitely, confusion from numerous people that using the country club reserve fund for doing this was concerns about depleting it, not understanding that this would, basically would be getting paid back to them. But so I think we have to think about this money, but if we need to spend any more money, how we fund it to for something that's non-golf related.
Okay. Pete?
If I can, I'd say there's some probability that the outcome could have been quite different if there was a restaurateur already kind of on board and there was a clear vision of what that was. I think it was the uncertainty and the risk to the town of taking on that in a speculative way. And it kind of came across as a lot of money on the table, speculating without a clear way of recovering the debt over time.
Yeah, and I think that was what we were hoping to do with even with the reduced funding, was to basically, we knew that what we had done so far was not feasible. And so we were looking to go and basically we're talking about go to a different kind of design, smaller, see what was feasible, bring that restaurant consultant in, but to do what we wanted to do with getting to plan stage was going to cost more money than what's remaining in there right now, but that's what the town didn't vote for. And I think it was unclear, but I think I do think that from what I've heard from others too, is that there was a lot of questions on funding source and a lot of discussions prior to meeting about, you know, to put it mildly, over my dead body, will we take any money out of country club reserve retained earnings to pay for study of a restaurant?
But I do think that to that point, like we probably didn't have enough time to educate everyone on all of that, because we weren't trying to take it out of our savings. We weren't trying to take it out of current golfer fees. We were trying to take it out of a new revenue source, which would be created by the. So I mean, everyone knows everything that I'm saying, but I think that publicly, like, it was unclear.
We didn't have time. Yeah.
And so we need to, if whatever we do moving forward, we need the time to socialize that and
Right.
make people understand. Because I know that on the finance committee there was a lot of pushback because we weren't doing a public-private partnership, and we've tried to sort of explain why that, like, where there are limits, but I also think that there wasn't enough education or time to educate on that.
I think we were kind of rushed on trying to get something onto on the
Yeah.
warrant, so that we could find out the direction to go in, and, you know, now we can take a step back, let the select board, you know, review it, and then make a recommendation, whether it gets kicked back to us or whichever way it goes. Hopefully, you know, within the next few months, we'll hear something on that.
Yeah, Jim, I think your comments are great. We will take that back on the board. It's, even if we're maintaining it, leaving something empty, it's gonna deteriorate.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance animals could get in there. You know, it's an old building, and there's a lot of, you know, spots they can crawl around and get into a building, and then that could really, you know, cause havoc. You know, one of the other things too is I watched the town meeting, and Christie's right. I think that there were a lot of people, and Ian, you brought it up several times about there wasn't taxpayer money being funded, but there was still a lot of people that would get up to the mic and say, you know, we're not going to pay our tax money, and you know, so I think there was definitely some disconnect on the way the funding was going to work for that.
Yeah, I think because, I mean, it's true, any enterprise fund that can't pay on their debt, that would go to the general, you know, it would go to the taxpayers, it would go to the general fund, because it's general fund obligation bond. That being said, like, we didn't have clear numbers of like how much we're gonna get in, and so then it's gonna pay out, and, you know, we'll be able to cover our debt within the enterprise fund, so lots of learning.
And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're asking money to try to figure exactly that out of what, and Rod, your piece is, that's the frustrating part here, because we knew what originally we looked at just wasn't feasible at that $7 or $8 million. It's just not gonna happen. So as a feasibility study, we said that's not feasible.
Right.
And then our hope was to go to a much smaller footprint, figure out what we could do that was more smaller scale, whatever, but we needed to get some expertise in there, restaurant consultants, whatever. That's what we're hoping to do. Town didn't support it, so it's not, yeah, we're not saying, hey, it's over and done with. I think it's back to the select board to figure out how we move it forward, what the next steps are.
Right. I think I received some feedback from some of the people from the golf course also. You know, they were worried that we were going to complete the enterprise account down, making them pay for everything up there. And that, I mean, from our meetings, we know that absolutely wasn't what we were trying to do. So I think the select board will get this, and then we can just move forward from there. Do we have a motion to refer this back to the select board?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous? Okay. The Regional Communications Center, I don't think we have any updates on that, Christie.
I can give an update.
Okay.
So we've been meeting, we meet every other week as the governing board, and we're executing contracts we still have not executed, though we did award a contract with a designer. And so we're working on that, and then working on some like surveying and geotechnical work. I know butters notices have gone out just to let people know about the surveying, if they see that kind of happening over there. A larger sort of update is that the town of Southborough requested to come into the rec. So they formally made that request, and on Tuesday night, both the Westborough Select Board and the Grafton Select Board voted to include them, which will likely result in additional funding from the state for the project, and also a bigger savings, I don't remember exactly, for the town. And it's just really good, coordination, because Southborough is a mutual aid partner that we work with a lot. So, so that's exciting. So we just need to update the IMA, and they'll be included in that as well, which would mean that the governing board would go from 2 to 3, with the town administrator from Southborough being on the governing board as well. At the same time, we're working on a lease for the district, and we're working on sort of standing up the district. This isn't really building stuff, but we really want to bring on an executive director to help really more closely manage the project, because we're going to have an executive director going forward. But we need retirement, and we need insurance, and we need our own attorney for the rec. And so there's lots of things that we're doing sort of administratively. But I think, we're still on track for the project, the actual building project, and we're still on track for the, we're applying for the grants that we need. We're hoping to have a public meeting in December so that we can just sort of more socialize the project more globally. Even though they're public meetings, no one comes. And so any of you are welcome. But we want to do like a bigger meeting in December, just to give people a heads up in all the towns, kind of what's going on.
And just for clarity, because I think there is a question of folks of what this means. What is a town running this thing? It's not. It's a separately running thing. In essence, what Christie said is, and what we're looking at from the board perspective is, we still own the property, so they will be leasing the property from the town. So the town will be getting revenue. We have to figure out what that is. So there's a lot of work being done on that, but that's really the extent from our side, besides being represented on that governing board, but it will be a self-running regional operation, not a town operation, not town. Our tax dollars will be a portion of funding that, but again, it's a savings by going to a regional. And just so folks know too, when we first started doing the Southborough, it was Westborough, Grafton, Southborough, and Hopkinton were the 4 towns that started doing this. Southborough and Hopkinton backed out. Now Southborough's coming back in. Our hope is that as we move forward, we'll see other towns come in, which will be beneficial for the towns, including Westborough, from a cost savings. The more we get other towns in there, and the facility will be, large enough for the expansion to do that as well.
I dealt with the state before in my previous position, and just so everybody understands, this is paid for by the state, the SETB, I believe it's called. But if the money comes from your cell phone bills, so there's a surcharge put on your cell phone bill every month that you pay that, and that's where this money is coming from. So they will pay for the outfitting of the building and any renovations that need to be done on it.
Correct.
So, it's a good opportunity for the town. We can refurbish that building, and it'll be a good use for it.
And I know this committee knows this, but we have to go through all of the same permitting requirements. So this project is on one of the December one-stop meetings with all of the permitting departments. And even though it doesn't fall within the authority of the historical commission, we did reach out and offer that they come in, and so they have an interest in coming in and photographing some of the building ahead of any demolition or anything happening. So still working with all of the related boards and committees in Westborough, because it's a Westborough project and property, but it's also within Westborough, so it's subject to all of those requirements.
So, if I may, we're going to lease this building to that entity, but we're going to be responsible for all maintenance on that building in the future, no?
So the terms of the lease define what we're responsible for, and the intention is that the district is responsible for that, for building maintenance.
Okay, because it is an old building, and you can rehab an old building, but things come up 10 years after the rehab. And if we had to put money into that, I just was curious how that would work.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So Metacomet is another district set up similar. So I've looked at their lease. So I know Franklin's part of that. I forget all the towns that are part of it, but looked at their lease, and in that particular situation, the only thing the town is responsible for, and they're a little different because the district's only leasing a portion of a building, but the town is responsible for, I think, landscaping, snow removal, maybe one other thing. So, but again, that one's different too, but still sort of putting everything squarely on the district so that it's funded through the
So
district.
they would do their own landscaping, mowing, plowing.
Yeah, I mean,
Sidewalk clearing.
we're still working out the terms of the lease, but in terms of building maintenance, you know, we've had different leases, and sometimes it's really difficult to identify like what's ours and what's theirs, so we want to be crystal clear
Right.
that maintenance is on the district.
Anything further on that?
One only semi-related. What's happening with the Hockomock Pond building? Is there anything?
So we have, so that will probably come back to the select board too. But the most recent 5-year review came out, and we have a meeting with EPA and DEP. It was actually supposed to be yesterday, but they had to move it, so I think it's early December now, to sort of understand what they've most recently found out about that property. But I think ultimately, there's a lot of work to be done in terms of how that could be reused, or whether or not it makes sense for it to be demolished. So I think that will kick back to the select board.
Okay, just curious.
Do we own that land?
Mhm.
I have a question on regional. Is it the same structure in regard to utility bills as like the wastewater? Westborough pays them all, and then the district covers, every pays the town?
No, so it would go fully to the district.
So they own the accounts and make all the decisions?
Yeah, that being said, we have talked to them about getting together with Ben and other folks, because if for some reason, you know, they ever abandon this property for the district, which we don't foresee, but obviously in some point in the future it could, we would want to make sure that it's, you know, up to what our standards would be. So, so even though they own that, we would still have those conversations, so.
I was thinking of net metering credits. And
Oh.
they would
Yeah.
actually soak up some of them.
Yeah, that they wouldn't do unless there was a way to, yeah, I don't know that there would be a way to do it, because they're a separate entity.
It's a separate legal entity, it's almost
Yeah.
like they're another town.
Anything further on that building? Community center, is there anything update?
I guess the only update is that we did receive funding at town meeting to move forward with the design of phase 1 through bid documents, with a timeline to come back to the annual town meeting with a request for construction of phase 1, which is just the front portion of the lower level, which would create the senior center, or the bulk of the senior center. And then also do design development for the rest of the building. So we're trying really hard. We're keeping everything up to date on the website, and we've had lots of community meetings. We had one on November 4th, or we had 2 on November 4th. We have one on Monday. It's a virtual meeting, so that link is available. But again, the select board, I think, is going to have further conversation on Tuesday to discuss that. Related to the library, we did meet yesterday with, I met with, and Jen and Sean Keogh as the select board's representative to the library building committee, met with Ed Baldwin, who's the chair of that committee, as well as the library director, to discuss temporary space, because they did get their bid back. And it's expensive to lease. So we started having the conversation with them about different spaces in the building that would be available if we move forward at the same time, on the same timeline, or if we delayed. So I think they're also just waiting for the select board to have that conversation.
Questions on that? Seeing none. We still don't have anything on Forbes.
So, I was gonna ask if there was a possibility to meet again next week, because we do have a change order that will close out the project. I was gonna pull it up here, but it looks like it's still being finalized. But that would close out the project with this committee, and then there's a settlement that will be executed on behalf of the select board. So, and just so everyone is aware, there's no additional cost associated with either of those documents. So it's not, the town's not being charged any additional funds. It was just, it's a more of a paperwork closeout. There are a few documents that we're still owed to the town, so we're just waiting for those, but I believe that we have them. We just need to confirm.
So you'd like for us to meet next week, maybe?
If that's possible, I think it would be good just to get that completed.
Is everybody available for the 21st?
I'm not.
How about the 20th, the day before Wednesday?
I'm traveling for work, unfortunately, this day, 21st. But if we can get a quorum, that's fine.
Yeah, everybody else, Peter?
On, what date was
We
that?
get the 21st is Thursday.
Yes, I'm available.
Rod?
Probably not.
Okay, how about the 20th, Wednesday?
Yes.
No, sorry.
Okay? Yeah, so won't give us a quorum, probably.
Could we do Friday
Friday?
morning?
Want to do Friday the
I can't
22nd?
I can do Friday. Rocky, you do Friday?
Yeah.
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 22nd?
Yeah.
That would give us a
Okay.
quorum, right?
So why don't we plan on, we'll have a meeting on the 22nd, which is Friday, gives you an extra time to
Yep.
put it together.
8 a.m.?
8 a.m. Angela, you'll look into the Great Hall,
Yes.
not our Memorial Hall, I'm sorry.
Memorial Hall.
Memorial Hall, Town Hall. Okay, so that'll be Friday.
Should be relatively quick.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I might be able to make that one if it's later in the meeting.
Yeah.
I have an
Okay.
appointment later in the morning.
Yeah, it'll be quick. Hopefully.
I do have one other thing, Enza, with our meeting minutes that we approve, are those posted on any town website after we approve them?
On our page.
On the disability committee's page, okay. Yeah, I had somebody ask me about that, and so I just wanted to make sure that everything that, we've done gets posted.
After they're approved.
Right.
Posted.
Okay.
Agendas are posted in the minutes once they're.
Right, that's what I said, but I just want to make sure that I was right on that.
To that point, it was brought up at town meeting that their information that we were receiving from BFE and other documents and information related to the golf course was not being posted to the website, and so I just want to correct that. That's not true. And so just for everyone's information, I think you all know, but on the front page of the town website, there's spotlights at the bottom. And we have a dedicated page for the golf club project, we have a dedicated page for the community center, and a dedicated page for the rec. And so if anyone's asking you about any of that, you just go on the homepage, all the way to the bottom, and you'll see, it just says Westborough Golf Club Building Project, and that's been up for several months, so, just in case you get that question.
So we're meeting the 22nd, so we don't have to set the next meeting date, we've already done that. And then at that time, we can set the next meeting after that. Is there anything further we need to discuss? Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor? Chief, we're out of here.